My name is E.R. Anderson. I'm the Executive Director of Charis Circle. In honor of National Poetry Month, Charis presents an exciting showcase of local and regional poets. Aline Mello, whose book More Salt Than Diamond Poems is here with us tonight. Athena Nassar, whose book Little Houses is with us tonight. Dhayana Alejandrina, whose book Agridulce is here with us tonight. Sadre-Orafai, whose book Dear Outsiders is here tonight. And Ed Madden, whose book A Pooka in Arkansas is here tonight. They represent a range of voices and styles in contemporary poetics, and we are here with folks virtually and in person to explore these small bites of each poet's larger works. They are sure to leave you hungry for more. So, Aline Mello is a Brazilian undocumented immigrant writer. Aline's poetry, essays, and stories explore themes of identity, displacement, family, religion, the body, and others. She's an MFA student at Ohio State University, and the poetry collection More Salt Than Diamond is out now. So please welcome Aline Mello. Yes, or standing. You tell me what you want and I'll fix it for you.
I'll stand.
Okay, I'm gonna come do that. All right.
Let's do it. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Aline.
Make this super loud. Woo, that's a party.
Yeah, the podium acts like a shield. So, sometimes they cover your hole and it feels better, but this is fine.
This is our main show.
This is a safe space. Okay. Can everyone hear me? Yeah, okay. So before I start, I do want to note I grew up in Georgia. Grew up in Alpharetta, Georgia, and went to school at Oglethorpe University. No, very small, but it's cute. I also went to Georgia Perimeter for community college. And one of the things that I do right now, and I've been doing for a few years, is I work with Freedom University, which is this underground like school that prepares undocumented people, students for university. And one of the things I do want to say is that Georgia is one of the states in the U.S. that still segregates school by citizenship or immigration status. This is including UGA and Georgia Tech. So now that I'm getting my MFA and I have a book, I'm thinking about teaching at a university, and I want to come back home to Atlanta, but I wouldn't want to teach in school that doesn't let undocumented people in. So I just think, I think UGA celebrated like a lot of years of desegregation a couple of years ago, and I'm like, no, not really. So I just want to point that out. I think it's important to kind of use any platform I have to like remind people that it's happening. Okay. My poems are sad, but in school this past couple of years, they've become angrier. So some of the poems do have cuss words. So I'm warning you. I'm gonna ease you in. I think this is like a funny poem. Other people don't think so, but this one is called Self-Portrait with Papers. And I do a lot of reading because I'm at school. And one of the things that I was reading about was how undocumented people hoard papers. And we just want to have like as many legitimizing paperwork as possible. So like you keep all of your school IDs, like you keep just a lot. And I was like, oh my gosh, I am reading about myself. So I was like, let me write something. Self-portrait with papers. Charmin, First and foremost, ultra soft. I pull and pull apart the squares to feel their thinness. I have every school ID card still in my wallet. A box of report cards from grade school. Notes from teachers saying, she's a good student, but she's an excessive talker. The letters I keep from my longest pen pal, like, girl, we got your petition. No need for a biometrics appointment this time. We got your picture and you look so good. 2 more years, babe. Congrats. Remember, this doesn't make you a permanent resident though, LOL. I confess, I threw away the notes from high school, love letters from boys, sappy, bad writing that lost meaning with time. But I keep the pages and pages of books on my shelves, dusty, heavy, sorted by last name and importance. They are markers of my life. I sign a bill that says it's okay to hoard sometimes. My father worked for a paper maker once. Big machines with water and white slush pressed flowers into paper. If he'd gotten me pieces, I would have kept them. In 3rd grade, our classroom newspaper, the times my story made it into the 2 columns in blocky letters, my first Thanksgiving, and my aunt had a baby, headlines, followed by scant words about turkey and cartoons and my toys. I still have those. These papers are mine. Yes, even this one, with this poem, I will keep. In my old age, find me buried in piles. Printed out lists, ticket stubs, pamphlets. Get me an extra large coffin. Stuff my papers in with me. We could all use the extra padding. On my tombstone, write only, she has papers. I read that poem for like a high school friend who went to the reading. And she was like, who wrote your love story? Like love letters in high school. And I was like, okay. People did. There were letters. Okay, so this next one is, being from Brazil and living in the US in the last few years have been kind of weird because previously we had a president who was kind of like trying to be like a mirror image of the former president here. I will have cuss words, but I won't say his name. I have lies across, every, but yeah, like it was almost like wow, be original, be yourself. Like you don't need to be like this other guy. But sometimes some of the headlines would come and I'd be like, who did that? Like which one? So I wrote this poem thinking about that, and it's called Between Americas, which North America, South America, America is not just the US. Between Americas. The military dictatorship ended the year my sister was born, but we were too poor to notice. The president talked about sustaining erections on September 7th and kissed his young wife and said he's not a rapist, but if he were, he'd go only for the pretty ones. He's selective. Unlike Molly, my dog, who barks at everyone. Children, women, UFOs, little boys taking turns on training wheels. She barks because they're outside, and she is not. And she is too. You see, power has to be wrenched. There are always little revolutions, like how a group of ants can topple down a grasshopper surely, and how my mom's medium-sized feet, chicken breast feet, took her from one part of Spain to another while she carried a picture of one of my dead uncles. I like to press down on the veins. The revolution we need next week is a literal one, with maybe violence and maybe wars. We will need a year after just to breathe, then another to pull up the pipes, fill in the mines, the way we have carved ourselves into the earth, when maybe we shouldn't have. What I mean to say is, In class, a sociology PhD student asked if DACA came with financial aid. And when I said no, she said she couldn't imagine how any undocumented person could ever get an education. And yesterday, the Fifth Circuit courts declared DACA illegal. And I am more tired than I was last week. I never asked for DACA. The truth is, tomorrow, there's another hurricane with another name. And America is still America. Is still America. I'll read one more because I tend to talk too much, so I have to not read as much because I'm balancing it out. So this next one is about my grandmother. I read a lot about my mother and my grandmother, her mother. I never met her mother. She died when my mom was 11, but she died because she wanted to die. It's a long story. There's another poem about it. But, you know, like sometimes I think we're haunted by some people. And I like to think I'm haunted by her, and maybe I am, but maybe I'm not, and that's fine too. But like my uncle was like, why would my mom haunt you and not me? And I'm like, don't get jealous. But maybe I haunt her more than, you know, like I'm just like always poking at her. But yeah, I think about never meeting her, and I think about how she died in her 30s, and how she had 8 children, and by the time she was 38, like it's, yeah. So this is about her called, oh, I'll tell you the story. Okay, so sometimes I get obsessive over something, and currently it's crochet. But at this point it was, where is she buried? And I was like, where's she buried? Who knows where she's buried? And I was calling different uncles and aunts because I have so many. And my aunt was like, oh, I know where she was buried, but there was a flood, and like that cemetery was just, you know, kind of ruined, and like there's no marker anymore, like we don't really know. And I was, you know, a little devastated. And then I was just obsessing about like how we didn't know about where she is. So this one is called Trying Not to Think of My Grandmother's Grave. Cemetery under mud, rain deciding for me, like my parents did, like the laws do, deciding I'd never visit. I want to give her daisies, margaritas like her name, and pretend just a little, like I usually do, that what connects us is more than blood. But what is true is that she's buried, then buried again. One day, if I go back, I will walk by the rivers that are prone to flooding, barefoot, hoping, careful, not to kick my grandmother with my toes, but maybe run into her casually, like one runs into family at the store looking for new shoes, to say, Bensaval, press my cheek to hers, dig 2 holes into wet earth, sink my arms into them like gloves made of mud, the closest I'll get to an embrace.
Our next poet is Athena Nassar. Athena is an Egyptian-American poet from Atlanta, Georgia. She is the author of the debut poetry collection, Little Houses, which is from Sundress Publications. She is the winner of the 2021 San Miguel Writers Conference Writing Contest, the 2021 Academy of American Poets College Prize, and the 2019 Scholastic National Gold Medal Portfolio Award, among other honors. Her work has appeared in the Academy of American Poets, the Missouri Review, Southern Humanities Review, Pallades, the Los Angeles Review, and elsewhere. She plans to attend Vanderbilt University's MFA program in the fall, and I will come up right now and help rearrange for a seat. You want to sit?
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. Hi everybody. I just wanted to give a shout out to all my family and friends that came to see me.
Love you.
Okay, so I'm going to read a couple of poems from my book, Little Houses. Maybe I should put it a little higher. We can hear you. We can hear you. Okay. I can project. Thank you.
Thanks everyone for bearing with us. We'll remember how to do that.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. It's really not what to say.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, we can still hear you.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Alligator. To your lover, you say, swallow me whole. To the world, you say, come dip your ladles in my fertile belly. The well is always full. The water is always warm where the sun beats down. I say you should cry where nobody will hear you. On the bank where I am pulling you out of its mouth, I am clutching you by your legs, each leg kicking back as if a part of you wants to stay wedged in the throat of what will kill you. On the surface where it hovers, I find you, mouth impregnated with pomegranate, juice streaming down your chin like a punctured artery. The earth waits to open and drag you under. Pray for him, then leave him buried in the house with the holes in the walls, in the belly of his own outrage. Close your mouth. The world will never lift a glass to your dry, wrinkled lips. No one will ever love you like you do. I pray you will emerge from its throat, wet and awake and gasping for air. It is not your lover. It is not your enemy. It is you, stranded in a body of fresh water, feeding on your own hunger to please. Avare. Outside the urgent care, we sit like crescent moons dropped from the sky, our bodies hunched over the sidewalk. Down here with everything so up close, we can see the people, holograms of themselves pushing through each other on the street, droplets of water falling past them, oranges toppling out of brown paper bags. Gravity is something even the moon cannot control. I turn to you, your mother and brother fallen with the droplets and the oranges, and think, what do I know about grief? I know the sun was punctured before light came pouring from it, like the yolk of a runny egg. I know I wake some mornings with the fear of my mother dying too soon, the thought a bird I must shoo away again and again. I wonder how you shoo them, your many hands flying in every direction. These birds, immigrant children like us. Look at how the moon glows a blood orange with all the fruit that fell in it, all the mothers who populate the sky. I watch the swinging doors of the urgent care and ask myself, what good does it do to worry about my own? Will it slow my mother's descent if I hold her, like a brown paper bag, from underneath? In Arabic, we have 5 ways of saying okay. Tayyab, Tamam, Hasanan, Zain, Mania. My mouth attempts to pronounce this shared language of acceptance, but the word Hasanan sticks to the back of my throat like a grain of rice. I'm scared to tell you I never did like leaving, fleeing one place to populate another. Your mother country calls these people avare, longing souls, their feet at the edge of a well to another country, a puddle of souls floating belly up. They see themselves in this puddle, but they also see themselves in the droplets yet to fall in. Happy tears of God spilling like fat melons from somewhere above us. I want to pry them open, swish their many seeds in my mouth. I want to tell you I'm scared of waking up. My heart a bird batting its wings to go nowhere. My mother a sound lodged in my throat. My judgment day. Don't you have any morals left to flock around your naked body in the grass like turkey vultures? Their cluster of heads, kidney bean red, their eyes, little tomatoes. Don't you have any morals left to eat you and eat you, to hang you up on the cross and feast their eyes on your flesh face, on your head hung low? Don't you have any grief left to beat you while you cry out to the Heavenly Father, his palms pink from beating you? Don't you have any mothers left to bathe you in an ocean of cleanliness, in a hot spring of sweat pooling in a pressure cooker of gods? Don't you forgive yourself for the nights with the men draped around your back like sheepskin, the men hung like curtains that open for you? Don't you enjoy yourself as you live in one night and another, as you inhale the day and hold it in your lungs, two swollen dates on the verge of bursting out of your chest? If the day is a vineyard, you are the crusher of grapes, your bare feet bleeding wine, your mouth bleeding a full and round laugh leaking into the night air, thicker than kissing thighs, much darker than heaven, much sweeter than the fruit jam between your toes. Don't you have any shame? A stampede of hooves to crush you, they crush you. Georgia bleeds. Georgia bleeds red mud, quick and narrow like a stream, an artery that cannot be corked. Trucks wear Confederate flags like a slip dress in the summertime, and I laugh because it makes me think of my grandmother's hijab pulled tight around her skinny face. The flags spitting out little drops of blood breeze by the paved streets of I-85. So Georgia is bleeding, but nobody cares enough to run cold water on its incisions, or at least pray for a quick and painless death. Heat runs through my blood, dry like Egypt's narrow streets or the irritably hot winter. Suburbia is a blue flame I cannot stomp out with the bottom of my shoe. It is not an anthill. It is not a monarchy. There is no queen of insert boring street name. They do not bear the wounded on their backs like saints if it isn't Sunday. They attend church services, their skin sun-dipped in spray tans and sun hats. They lick sugar from the rim of lemon drop martinis. Heaven is a members-only country club with grilled chicken kebabs and mint yogurt and Roseville Sharia and no entrance for Arab girls. Athena is Princess Peach. I find myself wedged between Mario and Bowser, afraid my pretty pink gown will snag on his shell, decorated with teeth from girls like me, girls that don't have toads to wish upon. I am a girl whose crown has been mauled by a kitchen blender, vision blurred by pixels. He presses Y and I dive into a piranha plant. I don't ask why through my pink lipstick, lips sealed shut. Is it wrong to be a girl who screams, "Finish him"? I wasn't programmed to jump from the back balcony into the moat. My manual doesn't give me instructions to escape through pipes, flying turtles, jewelry meant to weigh me down into the blades. I can't freeze the vines that wrap around my pearls so tight. Super Mario feeds me grapes to keep me entertained. Bowser dips my hair in lava to see how far I'll go. Sometimes I think I could suffocate in this openness. My mother slept in Puente de Hobos with nothing but mosquito netting to protect her from the heat and the dogs and all the dogs in heat. The mosquitoes, fat with my mother's blood, still flew in and out of the holes in the netting. Even with those thick socks pulled up to her knees, she couldn't stop the world from picking at the flesh left exposed. I suppose this is why I pull the sheets tight over my bare body at night. I wrap myself like a basket of French bread and pray the girls don't know the warm scent of someone who is afraid of birth and sex and girls who fight like bulls. The sheets, crisp white napkins, create a veil over my head. In Puente de Hobos, they tie steel blades to the ankles of roosters just to watch them kill each other. My mother tells me this as she tosses some slaughtered bird in a bowl of flour, twishing her fingers into the meaty parts. The bird was an unveiled woman before it was a bird. The woman was open before she was unveiled. I imagine the roosters wrestling in a crowded ring, and think of the first time I was called a whore. My mother admits she had been fed to the cockpit too, as she throws a battered leg into the frying pot. The oil jumps up, leaving chestnut-colored burns on the flesh of her wrists. But she just wipes the grease away and coats another leg in flour to feed to the bubbling. And this is the last poem I'm going to read, and it's dedicated to Alexander, my little brother. So I let you be a canvas. We are placed in a landscape where the only constant is you and your curiosity. And tonight we are at the fair. You say the sky is like cotton candy, so I try to break off a piece of the clouds and feed it to you. You don't like the taste of sugar crystals, how they evaporate once they are consumed. So I try to lend you bits of myself instead. Teach you how to read and write and place my jacket on your bare shoulders, but the world is too big to stuff all into your mouth at once. And you never liked literature, so I show you the fair. An array of lights to suit your colorful palette, paint to splash onto your perfect face. You want to be a pirate, so I let you be a canvas. Soak into the landscape, the painted faces, hot dog stands, people selling whatever they can get their hands on. And I can't help but think they want to get their hands on you, want to sell you in their stands, package you for delivery to an unfamiliar face. And it is this that frightens me. You running into someone's arms, maybe a spouse or a friend's, but not mine. The day will come when you are no longer mine, but tonight we are at the fair, and the clouds are too dilated to see beyond. The top of the circus tents, the entertainers. We spin each other round in teacups until your little stomach is flipped inside out, until your perfect face is streaked with paint running. I should have known, shouldn't have given you so much sugar, shouldn't have let you be a canvas. We've spun into a different landscape now, wet and muggy. A barbecue at our neighbor's pool, where children whip past me. And you don't want to wear your floaties, so I let you run with the other children. Watch you run away from me. Your little feet wrinkled like a chocolate date, back braised like a piglet, marinating, browned in the sun. I wait to see your little face, your flushed cheeks full of watermelon slices, juice dripping down your chin. You always like to run, so I let you barefoot on the hot pool deck. I am offered a strawberry daiquiri from a pregnant woman, so I take it. Sip the clouds through a curly straw until the landscape sways back and forth, until I see you run further from me. I see you in groups of 3, and everything is a dream. The pregnant woman, all the children running, their faces melt to the bottom of my strawberry daiquiri, and I am slowly spinning. It all happens so slowly, as if I could have stopped it. Stopped you from diving into the pool without your floaties. But nobody was watching, and everybody was running to a destination that could have waited, running to take the meat off the grill, running to lather their wet bodies in sunscreen. The people were spinning, and I was spinning with them in a twisted landscape where I existed without you. Didn't see you falling down beneath the surface, struggling to keep your little head above the water. How could I have known you were struggling in the midst of a beautiful frame? In the heart of a department store, I find myself in a different landscape. I find you alive, touch my solid hands to your solid face, thankful that someone pulled you out of the water, maybe a spouse or a friend. And finally, I wonder if I am still dreaming, still pushing grocery carts through the clouds full of rainwater. You want to see the action figures, want to run through the aisles piled high with pumpkins. This is your favorite time of year, when chrysanthemums bloom. When we go shopping for pumpkins, you choose the bluest ones. Say blue makes for the best canvas because it is the color of dreams. To carve its flesh would be to scratch the cornea of the world. To dig your hands into a C note and pull out pumpkin seeds. And now you are running, you want to see the action figures, but I am still carving our landscape. The children that roll by in grocery carts, the mothers with their grocery lists full of items that are bound to be depleted. Their grocery carts a womb kicking, asking to be fed, rolling down an infinite circuit where I am always depleted, where you are always hungry. I am still rolling further into the clouds full of rainwater, so saturated with blue that you are nowhere to be seen. Your flushed cheeks, your perfect face, a drop in the bucket of the ocean of someone else's grocery cart. I have lost you and the crowds are too dense to see beyond their painted faces. And it is this that truly frightens me. You falling so far into the clouds that all I see is you when I look up, peering through a kaleidoscope of gods.
Thank you, Athena. Athena's book is available up front, so be sure to check that out at the end. Our next poet is Dhayana Alejandrina. She is a Dominican poet, storyteller, and writing mentor from Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic. She performed her initial open mic in Okinawa, Japan, where she resided for 4 years. Her literary work scours inner growth, devotion, culture, and spiritual healing. The Dominican Writers Association, Avia newspaper, The Kindness Book, Penguin India Publishing, and many others have published her. In 2021, Dhayana published her first collection of variant prose and poetry, Agridulce, which shines the light on the importance of acknowledging our emotions and experiences as a path to self-awareness and discovery. She's currently working on her second collection and preparing for a poetry tour with Allegra Publishing in October 2023. Please give it up for Dhayana.
Where do I start? Thank you, all of you, for being here. It means a lot. Thank you for the Charis community for inviting us, for highlighting our voices and our stories. This is my first time, y'all. I am the one who came with talking points. All right? Never be too prepared. So yes, my name is Dhayana Alejandrina, and I am a Dominican poet, storyteller, and most importantly, a student of life who wears vulnerability as her shield. That's what I like to say. I'm the person who cries easily at anything. Commercials, Princess and the Frog, anything you can think of. I immigrated from the Dominican Republic when I was 13. I lived a very beautiful, humble, life over there. Both of my parents were creative writers. I used to get love letters and happy birthday letters from my dad. And my mom wrote too, but she kind of kept her writing to herself. So I believe that's where it comes from. My parents really made me feel comfortable with my emotions, with expressing myself, with challenging them, with asking questions. I come from a neighborhood where everybody was like family. And yeah, electricity went off every 4 to 5 hours. This is how it is. But I learned from that. And I like to speak about that because it taught me a lesson. It taught me how to be present with people. It taught me about loving nature, about really embracing the moments with family. And so everything that happened in my childhood really made an impact into who I am today, and I wouldn't change anything at all. So yeah, life changed in 2009 when I moved to the United States. I spoke no English whatsoever. I still remember my first day in high school, cried. And like any immigrant, children, families, we know the struggle. To this day, I still translate for my mom. I still call for her appointments. And to back it up a little bit, my relationship with writing started when I was 9. You know, because my parents created such a safe space for me, I used to write all over the walls. I kept a hard luck diary. Does anybody know? Little tiny key. Yeah, you like carry everywhere, make sure you don't lose it. That was me. And I love to write love letters, inspirational quotes. And I was the one little girl who dreamed about somebody writing me love letters too, like Dad did. And so my relationship with writing changed after I moved to the United States. I had to learn a new language. I had to get used to the culture, and that was challenging. It's almost like I had an inner conflict with myself. Do I leave behind who I was? Can I leave behind who I was? And no, you know, to this day, I still try to embrace both cultures, you know, and grow. My work is very sensitive, very honest. It talks about emotions. It talks about being vulnerable. That is who I am, and that is the kind of space I want to create for others. I have been married for a long time. I lived in Japan with my husband's military, and that is when I started Agridulce. Agridulce means bittersweet in Spanish, and the meaning of it is to highlight that life is light and darkness. Life is like the yin and yang. We have to embrace both sides of our lives to really learn, to really grow, to really appreciate where we are, and to really appreciate the people around us. And so I am brave enough to continue to be vulnerable, to continue to put my work out there. And yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and start reading some pieces from Agridulce to you guys. Once again, thank you so much for being here. This is one of the opening poems. Paper is a blank listener that accompanies me through life. I can find paper in corners. I could never find you in my heart. Paper lets me be vulnerable. It doesn't judge me. It embraces me for who I am. As I turn the pages carefully, paper welcomes me with open arms. Some of you can never imagine the relationship that we have. Paper is a blank listener. It helps me through my darkest times. My book is divided into 2 sections, La Dulce, the sweet, and the sour, the bitter. And I selected pieces that show the transition of it. This next one is titled, on the page, Libertad, which means freedom in Spanish. I want to be free. Enjoy the air I breathe, no anxiety on sight, just a beautiful starry night. I want to be free from the demons haunting me, from the pain consuming me, from the wolves that are trapping me. I want to be free from the memories that wake me up, from the tears that taste like salt, and the self-blame that never goes. I want to be free from what was never apologized for, from the insecurities that say hello, from the doubts eating me whole. I want to be free, but my pain holds my hand as tight as an oyster. I want to be free, but my fear drains me, and my lack of self-love scares me. I just want to be free. Next one is Confessions. I have been treating her like the dirt under my fingernails. I have been putting her through hell. I have been talking to her ugly and not respecting her beautiful self. You may think I am a monster who does not care about her at all. It has been years since I told her I was sorry, I was wrong. There are nights I want to take her to the mirror and have a talk, say, you are truly magnificent. Please hold yourself high, yet I stutter like a baby. Turn my back on her again. Please forgive me for not taking care of you the way that you deserved. That is about self-love, y'all. We disrespect ourselves, where we just let people walk over us, or we don't say no. It is easy to say, yeah, I can do this, yeah, I'll say no, but we all have inner battles, right? And sometimes we don't want to lose connections, we don't want to lose people, and so we sabotage ourselves. So yeah, I get a lot of that. The next one is from the section Dulce, the sweet. So again, so sweet, okay? Love language. What is my love language? Sometimes I don't know. I have changed so many times for people I no longer love. I used to think that to love is to be the person they want me to be. I became their life force, their AA batteries. I satisfy each need, listen to the requests, fill the holes others left. I really thought this was okay. As the years went by, I did not wait for an apology to claim my power back. I found true love within myself. Each part of me is a realm. My love language is me. I love myself tremendously, respectfully, wholeheartedly. Sexuality. She found me at a really young age, opening myself like a fragile book. I welcomed her. Little by little, she showed me that the heart sees no color, no gender, or religion. Although society had an agenda of its own, I could not control my emotions, so the curiosity building up. Can you blame me for that? For wanting to love whoever I want? Hello, sexuality, I whispered. Scared of where my emotions may take me, I wonder whether I should take off the mask so the world can see me for who I am. Would you hold my hand as I take this path? Sexuality, you have taught me so much. Even when it hurts, I still find a way to love. Incredible, the things the heart can do. I just want to be somebody's rainbow when they're feeling blue. I just want to be the light that makes them forget about the dark. I just want to be the reason they no longer hide. Thank you. The last little poem I have is titled Poems. Hands down, one of my favorites. Build a home within yourself that no one could ever tear apart. Water the soil and give it love so the foundation can last. Put up walls sturdy as iron, may no one make you doubt your worth. Decorate the inside with everything that reminds you of who you are and who you will become. Make this home a sanctuary where you feel safe and free to feel. This home is yours. Take care of it well, because no one else will.
Our next poet is Ginny Sadre-Orafai. She's the author of Paper, Cotton, Leather, Malik, and Dear Outsiders, and she's the co-author of
Okay, sorry guys.
She is the co-author of the Book of Limitations. Her prose has appeared in the Rumpus, 14 Hills, the Los Angeles Review, colleges, and others. She has taught at the university level for 21 years. Currently, she is a professor of English at Kennesaw State University where she teaches creative writing. She has served as a mentor in the Association of Writers and Writing Programs, Writer-to-Writer Mentorship Program, and is a mentor in the Caraplus Collective, a program for writers of color. In 2012, she co-founded the literary journal Josephine Quarterly with poet Kamal Matthew. She is the former executive director of the nonprofit organization Georgia Writers. She explores identity, the natural world, and family in her poetry collections and in her essays. So give it up for Jenny.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Charis, for hosting us. Thank you, ER. It is an honor to be here, and thank you all for being here. Tragedy lesson. Describe drown. We don't say it too loud when it happens. It's not for the hotel people who pay for symmetrical shells. They walk out so far that they can't tell which place is theirs on the way back. For sure, there's nothing that could keep them away anyway, not the burns, not even if we told all the jellies to wait outside their do not disturb doors. We know them by the color of their towels. Orange is the fanciest resort. Blue is the motel without water views. They line their balconies with them, flags to countries they'll never belong to. The body is rescued and buried because it didn't swim at 45 degrees to shore. There aren't long talks over dinners. We're so sorry, and that's enough. Anchor Bend. When we want to visit the starfish, we swim out. We aren't allowed when they're giving tours to hotel people. We know starfish have eyes, even if we can't see them on their faces, just like we know the vanishing island is real, even though sometimes it disappears. The tides covering it up, lost and found. We feel what the other feels, and if one of us swims too fast, the other's legs hurt, and we both have to take a break. Sometimes we think one of us will dissolve. Stacks. Our father balanced rocks in a past life. He lived by a river he doesn't remember, and he tells us that this is why he came from the land and the mountains this life. He talks about tectonic plates, how mountains were formed, describes floating continents and what will happen when all the water in the world is disappeared. We saw a stack of pink roses on the beach once. It was early winter, and they were dozens. They belonged to us. Everything did in the cold. Not even the gulls wanted them. Without the water, we'd be without our mother. Without our father, we would lose the world under our knees. When you love the beach, you love it no matter what. Locals. People who aren't us think that the ocean is all blue, but there are lines if you look hard. Water isn't easy to read. We say dolphins can stay underwater 20 minutes tops. We tell them that we bury our dead boats in container ships. We say the waves are clapping for you. We say there are reasons why we don't build our houses taller than our trees. We don't tell them that the town is taking the toll away. We only warn the small children about going out higher than their waists. We point out what they should take pictures of, even though it's nothing. We go past the buoys, warnings floating, and the lifeguards don't say a thing. We aren't worth the trouble. We're a reflection swimming backward. We're crabs breaking the pot. One more origin story, but there's not. One more. That's confusing. She said the Gulf spat her out, and yes, we believed. Her fingers never wrinkled from water, a cormorant. Our mother swam past markers, past chartered boats, and never turned around for a crowd of applause. No guard radioed in her bright back. What else can we tell you but she's an orphan from an atmosphere we don't know? She saw the crawler crusher make this place. We take her fin, paddle out. Lessons for waywards. And it was our mother with big water hair who first taught us to kiss our turned up hymns and how to play cards alone. We whisk and beat our dresses to death. We fossil them in the front yard's garden bed. We are so exhausted from hearing night flowers that we make up our own beds and then plant ourselves there until we can't make our own breathing. It was our father who said, we are only meant to remember as much as we can. And now we are saying we won't remember the lessons or the front yards or what time when our mother was pulled, her hair big, an ocean, and how loud everything got when our father died for good too. Sometimes, like, this is very excessive. Do you see this? Like, they're coordinated. It's too much. And there's like a language to this. So, like, green means go. So, like, I read all the green ones, and if I have time, don't worry, I won't read anymore. Then I read the blue ones, but then sometimes I get confused. So anyway, little behind the scenes. The start of the thread. We were raised up by our mother singing. She took the lead, the start of the thread in every song, and we let her. Her hands open like she carried invisible plates to feed everyone. We were raised up by our father's paintings, drawing on the walls, turpentine hung in the windows, and refused to leave. We don't push our mouths into singing since we lost her. And when we found a tube of paint someone left behind, we squeezed it out all into the sidewalk. Let the sun eat it right up. Throwing. Orange is a vest for hunting, the ring for saving at sea. Our mother's hands are gone from where they held applause. Her orange lips bringing a note in her throat. Her fingernails are circus peanuts. Her hands, sun rays we sunned ourselves in. We lined the windowsills with tangerines. Her mouth, a warning that she would be found if she wanted to be saved. So thank you all again. This is my last poem. Your hands can take a break. Briefly. Outline. We wear chains of bear bells around our waists and wade into fire. Watch. We are sailors glowing in pilot lights. We pick valerian that sings us to bed before atlases beat themselves against the glass that doesn't belong to them, but to the sinking house. Their migration surrounds, and we come out with our hands open, grabbing at nothing. And when this house drowns, we'll be failed sailors, our outlines in foxfire, burning until a star mutes them.
Front as well. Our final poet of the evening is Ed Madden. Ed is the author of 5 books and 4 chapbooks of poetry, most recently Arc, about his father's last months in hospice care, and So They Can Sing, which won the 2016 Robin Becker Chapman Prize. He is a professor of English and the former director of Women's and Gender Studies at the University of South Carolina, where he teaches Irish literature, queer studies, and creative writing. From 2015 through 2022, Ed has served as the Poet Laureate for the City of Columbia, South Carolina. He is recipient of an Academy of American Poets Laureate Fellowship and Artist Residencies at the Hambridge Center in Georgia and the Instituto Sacatar in Brazil. So please welcome Poet Laureate of Columbia, South Carolina.
Thank you. I'm going to apologize for my voice. I don't know if you have had this experience, but after 2.5 years of wearing a mask all the time, allergies come back with a vengeance. So I tested religiously all week, and it's definitely my allergies. They're just killing me. I should say before I start, a pooka. So a pooka is a trickster from Irish folklore. He's a trickster. He's a shapeshifter. He can show up as a horse, a cow, a dog, an old man with goat's ears, anything. He isn't evil or good. He's just a trickster. He might show up at your house and do all of your chores unless you ask him to, and then he will definitely leave. He pisses on all the blackberries beside the road at the end of the summer because they're his after that. And I just thought, what a great metaphor for thinking about the ways we encounter others that change us. The ways that closeted kids are shapeshifters. And I should say too, the book is full of lots of retold fairy tales and wolves, because I sort of think what are families but fairy tales writ large. I have to say, I love that. I loved all the family poems you all were reading, but I love that line about my mother being a sound lodged in my throat. Wow. Okay. And I apologize if I read too fast, because sometimes I do. When I was a young animal, I learned by watching others, my father and the other men, my mother closing the door. The field smelled like a field. I didn't know that then. I could smell my young uncle on his hand-me-down shirts and pants, the buckskin coat with fringed sleeves, smell my grandmother's home when I tugged them on. On the farm, we were a pack, the other cubs and me, roaming the dirt roads and fields, slinging clods at cars and one another, pissing on anything into the fire they built behind the shop to burn the trash, the small cans exploding in the flames. We were sunburnt, sugar bit. Our mothers checked our skin for ringworms and ticks. I was a young animal. I learned by watching others. Fairy tale. The blue mother lives on the moon. She is a mortar and pestle, grinding her children as she sees fit. It is love, the way she crushes them. Bits of love fall around her like crumbs. She sends a message to her eldest. Do not come home until your life is straightened out, maybe then. He sees a table laid out for guests, the children and grandchildren, the blue mats and white napkins, the milk and bread, the white bowl like a moon on the table. The mother is in the blue kitchen. Rice is cooking on the stove. The rasp of the pestle fills the air with dust like dry leaves from the garden, ground into something very, very fine. There are also a few pooka poems through this. Instructions on meeting the pooka, number 1. Don't go out on the old road by yourself. That is where, that is when. Sometimes a man, sometimes a horse. If it has golden eyes, it speaks. It is never, it is always. If you have spurs, then. If you don't, then. Some of us were made to be ridden, riddled, riven. Never mind your mother, it says, keep your hold. Never mind whether you do or don't, it says, I will make you know. Sometimes a dog, pig, sometimes a bear. If the frost has silvered the blackberries, if they've spit on what you want. Sometimes the necessary task, sometimes a story you've heard before. Come with me, it says, and I will bring you home. Sometimes a lie, sometimes the truth. Sometimes a man with the head of a goat. He will give you gold coins, nothing but green leaves. He will teach you new songs. They won't make sense back home. But you know how now. Fairy tale. What he wore that day was darkness, a silver shimmer of teeth, spit threading his words, the sour of dried sweat and dog fennel and yellow leaves, and nothing like what they had said before, though we'd heard the story, how he lingered and where the door where little boys disappeared, pull the bobbin and the latch will go up. And there he was, watching me, all loose and lizardy in worn-out jeans, his lean and lank, the silvery trees, a path fizzling out and animal trails, just instinct and smell, and me no longer a boy. He stood, said nothing, bog moist and rust worn, a bolt and grin, thick and itchy, and it was there and then, and window and bare skin, neck bristle and stiffen, red shirt on a limb, a way to make do, and something or someone to sink your teeth into. Pooka in Arkansas. My dad was dying. He had been dying for weeks. I went for a walk down the old road beside the family home, the sun declining in the distant trees. Be careful, my mother said. There are wolves in the fields. She said she had seen the tracks. I used the walk to phone my love back home, the man they did not know, refused to know, a name they never used. The nearest field was fringed with what the combines left behind of last year's harvest, threaded now with insects and weeds. Tractors would plow it all down soon enough, and death would be here too, soon. On the road ahead, a small dog trotted just beyond me. The wind picked up. I tucked my phone away. No one headed out or home, no one on the road, just the dog. It paused, looked back as if to ask, how far do you think we'll go tonight? Fairy tale. There are lots of fairy tales in here. What you thought was a wolf was not a wolf. It was your father, mother, brother. You did not remember what big teeth they had, what claws. When your father died, the wolf was at the door ready. The wolf wanted you. The wolf wanted you to love what you couldn't have. The wolf made you beg. The wolf made you hard. The wolf said, good boy. The wolf said nothing. What you thought was a wolf was not a wolf. The wolf was a darkness beyond the fence. Once there was a boy who left his door unlocked, asked you to bring a friend and hold him down. You did this. Later, after it was over, he thanked you. Later, a year or so after, you heard he died, a heart attack, and no one found him for days. What you thought was a wolf was not a wolf. The wolf is in the mirror. The wolf is at the door. The door is unlocked. The wolf is a man sleeping surrounded by flowers. He smells better than you remember. If you kiss the wolf, he will wake up. Dublin barber as therapist. If you've seen Lemonade, you know that in Beyonce's Lemonade, all the prose pieces between are by a poet named Warson Shire from England. And I have one poem I use from that with high school kids all the time. And so I thought you should do it yourself. You're asking if you're able to do it. So this is my version of her poem, Nail Technician as Palm Reader. So mine is Dublin barber as therapist. After the shampoo and a man's hands massaging my head into submission, the man with scissors and a thick beard turned me toward the wall of mirrors in a room that smelled of vetiver and whiskey, sandalwood, bay rum. I didn't have my glasses on, the room a blur of light and men's voices. Which side do you part it? I pointed right. Why? I don't know, I said, just always have. Well, it doesn't grow that way, he said. Okay, I said, let's part it the way it grows. And he began. That night in a dream, I fidgeted in a hard chair near the stove in the farm shop, a dusty blue cape thrown over me, the hired man and part-time barber Jesse circling me, the smell of cigarettes and old sweat. His hands trembled near my ears, and he clipped my bangs across my forehead in a monkish line, while the men stood beside the stove telling jokes and talking about the winter weather. As I woke, I was shaving my head. That summer, I came out to my parents and lost them. 30-something, and I looked like a boy, lost, shorn. The only thing I remember of that summer and how long it took to grow back. I'm going to read 3 more. I'm going to read one very angry poem, since you said you were going to read it. Everyone said, I have a very angry poem. I will end with a happy poem, though, just because I feel like some of mine are dark. My book ends with a happy poem. It needs to have a happy ending. But first, I want to read one. I like taking texts that are part of my psyche, part of my consciousness, because of how I grew up. And one of those is, of course, for me, if you grew up fundamentalist in the South, the 23rd Psalm, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He leads me through green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He restores me. So all of that. So this is Psalm. There are a couple of Psalms in here. Psalm after Psalm 23. Tim is my therapist. I'm learning to trust him. He motions me to the green sofa. There's always bottled water on the table. He leads me to talk about things I don't want to talk about. If I make my way to the top of the dark stairs, he makes a space for talking and for not talking. Sometimes the room gets crowded. My dead father, my distant mother, all those messages from my brother, I can pull up right there on my phone. In their presence, he asked, what would happen if you stopped doing your family's work of shaming you? That question follows me the rest of the day. So 2 more. Thank you, Charis Books. Thank you all. This is just an incredible night. Thank you all for coming. 2 poems and then we're done, and I hope you'll buy everybody's books. Not the one. I am not the son you wanted. I am not the brother you wanted. I am not a birthday on the calendar. I am not a photo on your wall. I am not a postcard you will answer. I am not listed in your phone. I am not on the right side. I am not in the pulpit. I am not in the pew. I am not how you imagined it would go. I am not a story you can tell. I am not the latest news. I am not who you thought I was. I am not the way it should be. I am not the moral of the story. I am not riddled with guilt. I am not covered in sores. I am not unaware of the irony. I am not the difference between then and now. I am not in your Venn diagram. I am not a good fit. I am not good. I am not good enough. I am not at the wedding. I am not dearly beloved. I am not the circle of life. I am not an uncle. I am not a place at the table. I am not a vase of flowers. I am not a mylar balloon. I am not just driving through. I am not stopping by. I am not around much. I am not someone you asked to stay, though you did once so I could help. I am not trying to earn my place. I am not obedient. I am not telling you what you want to hear. For years, I was a folded note in my father's wallet that he didn't know whether to send, and then he sent it. I am not responding to that last text message you sent over a year ago. I am not someone who writes home anymore. I am not someone who goes home anymore. I am not stuck in the past. I'm not letting go of the past. I am not very rational about this. I am not this. I'm not that. I'm not one of those or one of them. I'm not one of us. I'm not one of you. I am not handsome. I am not wholesome. I am not holy. I am not coming home. The last one. My husband, who is not my husband. And I realized I should have put a note in this here because this was written before marriage equality. So that's why he's my husband, who is not my husband. It's the last one. It's the happy ending to the book. My husband, who is not my husband. His priestly gestures, consecrating the broken eggs, hands moving over the stove, slabs of meat skittering in grease, drop biscuits big as a cat's head threaded with cheese. Him making the fountain, making lantana, acanthus, making bloom and ripple song, making the birds, my husband, the blue room, the bright room, best china, best silver lifted from a box in the closet, its red beds of best silver put back later for later. My husband who is not my husband, who is still mine, see him crying in the Dublin airport he doesn't want you to see. Can you see the eucomas, its waxy leaves, its stalk blossoming in the hot sun, pushing up among the marigolds? Scars from this or that on shin or back, wrist or hand, the way the garden loves him, the bees, him among the lilies, his hands lilies, his mouth a twist of quince, his scent, my husband among the lilies. My husband sauntering down the aisles, him sauntering down the aisles at the flea market, dust settling on everything, his small flashlight, his blue eyes, his sound of keys to train. Look, something glitters and is gone. My husband, the gold of the trees falling, and him a coverlet of mulch across the beds, or asleep, the heat of him, the hot water bottle of him, the cat purring at our feet. My husband, who is not my husband, who's still mine. The blue walls say so. The orchid deciding to bloom again. Thank you.
Thank you so much. What a beautiful, beautiful reading that each one of these poets has given tonight. I feel so lucky that we get to resume our in-person poetry events with this stellar showcase of poets. So I'm gonna say good night to everyone who's watching virtually with us. Thank y'all. The poets can't see, but they were clapping and fire emojis and shouting out your name, and they were an awesome audience also. So just so you know, shout out to them for being such a great audience online. You guys who are watching at home can click this teal button to buy the poets' books from Charis.